Well, Catherine Freshley is with us today. She is one of the directors on the El Toro Water District Board. And today, Catherine, we are talking about public safety power shutoff. And this has to do, of course, with Southern California Edison and other electric companies in other areas that are now curtailing, shutting off, maybe reducing the power in certain areas that could be wildfire danger, high wind danger. And we've seen this already being done in certain areas. Right. And it looks like, at least in the near future, it's a plan that they're going to be using until maybe they redo some of their infrastructure. But you're here because how does this pertain to the water district? You guys use power, and you need power.
Well, that's absolutely. Yeah. It's really quite interesting. The law was passed this past year, which gives, which basically states that depending upon the conditions, and we're all aware of what has gone on in Northern California, right. and Pacific Gas and Electric, the fines they've had. I mean, it was like $2 billion they just got fined for the fires, and it's a tragedy because in order to get the power to us, we got to go through some very difficult areas.
Yes, yeah.
Now, what has happened is by the law changing, it's forced all the utilities, not just the electric companies. I mean, initially when they were talking about it, they were really concerned with hospitals and things. They didn't stop to think that, the water systems and the sewers, we need electricity in order to function. That's just part of a modern society.
Yeah.
And so that the requirement, next slide, okay, the requirement is that when there's a danger, the utility is the one that makes the decision, okay? Now what we have here is that you can see that we got a map at the lower right side. Yeah. That's the El Toro Water District. That's basically everything in the yellow is our district, is where we're supplying the water. And so where we also, we do sewers also, okay? So we've got to protect that area. Actually, because we're in a metropolitan area, we're really not that much at risk.
Yeah, that's right.
If you go down to the west side, where you got Laguna Canyon and everything, that is very rural.
Yeah.
But typically, the winds, when it's really dry, the winds are blowing from the east toward the ocean.
Right.
They're not blowing toward us. So that's not really as much of a risk for us. Now, Southern California Edison has the big high-tension power lines running in that area.
Right.
And they're constantly monitoring that to make sure that they're capable, they don't have any problem. And then you'll see this long tail that goes up there with Aliso Creek. And that's all the way almost up to the 241. That's a little bit more of a riskier area for us because there's more open space in that area.
Yeah.
See? So that's what we really have to be concerned about. And you see the little yellow circle there, just down below the district. That's our R5 reservoir. Okay. That's the largest reservoir here in actually Orange County.
Okay.
And it's jointly owned by us and Santa Margarita Water District. So that's where we're storing water. So those are the areas that we have to be concerned about. Okay.
And is that the reservoir that's up on Los Alisos?
Yeah.
That area? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just around there that's your district.
That's right.
Okay.
It's around it is around that reservoir is not our district. That basically is Molten Miguel or Santa Margarita.
Okay.
But it was built before they before they were really coming into existence.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay. And the next slide.
Okay. So this is the
right. Now, what kind of tools are the utilities? And it's not just Southern California Edison. A couple weeks ago, I was down to a engineering session with Aqua, which is the Association of Water Industry here in California, and really working. But San Diego, has had many more fires,
right?
And they got much more open space to contend with than, and Southern California Edison does too, but not in our area. And it was very interesting as to what the utilities are having to do And for example, one of the things that Southern California is they're going to be expanding the network of weather stations. Right now, they have 400 weather stations. They're going to add another 850.
Oh, wow.
And these weather stations, so they'll be monitoring winds, wind direction. They're also going to be monitoring vegetation moisture.
Okay. Wow.
You know, they really have begun to computerize this. And one of the things that, and working with the federal government, the U.S. government, with the satellites, what they've done now, they're in the process, and this San Diego was kind of leading this effort, because they hired, about 10 years ago, a weatherman, basically a meteorologist, to help them plan so that they know when to have to start shutting off electricity, and we'll talk about what the process is. And now they're setting up, they're just in the process of doing this, they're setting up, similar to, you know, when you have hurricanes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, the intense, they're setting up a system that's going to be 4 levels. And this will be determined, you know, when they're talking about what the fire hazard's going to be.
Okay.
What kind of wind, how dry is things, vegetation reading, they're to be reading the vegetation from the satellites so they know ahead what the vegetation, is it dry, is it wet, what the moisture content is, so that they can be telling ahead, they'll be able to explain ahead, hey, if this is a level 4 fire risk, then you're going to, that's the time when they're going to have to really turn the power off. Okay. So it's getting that understanding, which we never really had.
That's true.
These are things that have been developed only in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
See, so a lot is happening there. And then you're going to have the fire monitoring cameras.
Yeah, and we see those here.
And you see that on the next page. This is, and right now, see, we have maybe about, I don't know how many total.
Yeah.
Okay. But they're going to be installing another 70 throughout Southern California. Edison is, because as you can see, that one camera, you can see a little bit where that orange is.
Yes.
That's the view that on the left from that camera. And you can see remember the days back in the forest monitoring? We used to talk about it. You know, they had well, now we got electronic stations, and these stations, the monitoring is checked every 10 minutes.
Wow.
That's the data that is coming back. See, so
very important.
It's you know, without the data, it's very hard to make the decision. Where is the risk? Yeah. And that whole basis of this is determining where is the risk. Yeah. Okay. The notification plan is the first notification that we would have, and the community basically would be about 2 days ahead. If they think there's going to be a fire, there's going to be a fire season, they'll be trying to assess, well, what risk is it? Yeah. You know, what level of fire might it be? And then the second notification is the day ahead. You know, when you know, because it's interesting, you know, talking to a meteorologist, they can kind of predict, you know, when's the winds and when is all the conditions going to be a certain thing, and so, you know, they're getting much better at.
Yeah, you know, we got notifications like that.
I mean,
last year,
as you know, that it's you back when we were growing up, we were lucky to get a notification something was going to happen. Yeah. You know, a day ahead. Now they're able to forecast pretty reliably, at least a week ahead. Yeah, that's true. And that's really what this has been, you know, been developed around. And the third notification is basically we're going to have to shut down. Yes. Okay. Yeah. And then the fourth notification is when they're going to turn the power back on. Because before they do, they got to check and make sure that everything is fine. Yeah. Okay, so what is the El Toro electrical demands? Well, just for us overall, okay, we got 8 water pump stations. We got 11 sewer lift stations, you know, because we got to move that sewer stuff. We got to move stuff to the, you know, to the recycling plant. Right. You know, this stuff just doesn't flow by itself. It's not gravity. Yeah. It's not gravity fed. Other than, if you remember that tail that goes way up there. Now, see, that tends to be more gravity fed for us. It's coming down. That's coming down. But anything we have to put water up there, we got to pump it up. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So. So then you got, so our total energy consumption is 8.3 million kilowatt hours a year, which is about $1 million a year is what we spend just on electricity, okay? So what do we have in order to prepare ourselves for this eventuality? Well, in backup power, we got 15 stationary generators and 4 portable generators, you know, and so that, you know, and so we can actually respond as we need to in a given area if there's going to be a shutdown. Now, one of the things that we're going to be working with and we need to work with is with Southern California Edison is begin to determine if they're going to have to shut down, which areas are going to be affected and where are they, where are the isolation points going to be so we can predict ahead where we have to locate our stuff, say. And so we got emergency bypass equipment. We got 3 portable sewage bypass pumps, a vacuum truck, and you know, so because that's a big issue. Most people don't realize, you know, last time I was here, we talked about the sewage, SACWA, you know, where we take a lot of our sewage, and you know, and half of our the water district's work is taking care of the sewage. You know, and that's half of our expenses, and and so we have to be capable of making sure that we can remove it and not flood it on the streets or anything, because it becomes a real health hazard. Okay. And then the next item that we have is that we're in the process of reviewing, our fuel storage and making sure that we have adequate storage of fuel if we have to run a shutdown. And right now we're looking at maybe adding another main tank and this stuff. Right now we carry enough fuel to go for 4 days. So we could survive 4 days. We're looking at it as one of the things we're doing in strategic planning of saying what would it take us to get up to 10 days where we could survive if we didn't have power. How do we make sure that we can function effectively for the community for 10 days? And you know, and thinking that that's probably the limit of what we might have to see.
Now, the other water districts right in this area, Molten Miguel and Santa Margarita, do you work with them as well in all this? In case
we talk to them. We do. And but everybody is in the process of going through this. Okay, so you know, until everybody develops kind of the plan, and then we work with the. With the Orange County Sanitation District, we're working with the Orange County Water District.
Because I'm thinking one district may be more in need than the other, and equipment could be provided for them.
And that's true. Now, one of the things that was interesting when we started talking about this several months ago, and I learned from talking with Dennis, was that it was surprising that we have more backup power than many of the other districts. Some districts didn't have any backup power. See, so we have been really pretty, over the years, the boards have been very, very conscious of this, and the staff has. So we're not having to buy a lot of equipment. We're not having to add things. We've already had it. It's a matter now really getting focused on the issue. And that's what it comes down to.
Well, very good. You gotta, things change, and new technology is helpful, but it shows that what you have to be prepared for nowadays.
Well, and it shows that, the technology, where the opportunity is to begin to use technology, when we got all these satellites going, there's things that we can do from them now that we never had the possibility of the ability to do before. And if we learn how to use the technology, it can be a lifesaver for all of us.
Yeah, it can. Well, thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
Enjoy seeing you.
Well, thank you.
And you've been with the El Toro Water District now 2 years?
About a year and a half.
About a year and a half. Oh, that's right. It was November election.
It was a November election, and
that's right.
And remember, I got appointed in the summer before.
So good to see you, Catherine.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
Okay, thank you.